Hi everyone, my name is Tara Westwell and today is Tuesday, which means it's time to discuss our book of the week, which is Deep End by Ali Hazelwood. First, this is a spoiler-free section, so if you haven't read this book yet, don't worry about it, it won't be spoiled for you here. There will be some spoiler-related things that I want to discuss, however that'll be later on in the video, and you will get plenty of warning. If you'd like to join in on any of the book discussions, send me your thoughts, comments, or even a short video clip of you discussing the book, then I'll list the next upcoming 4 books in the description below. Anyone who knows me might know that I'm a little bit dubious when it comes to sports romance. I mean, I've read a couple of hockey romances, and while they were okay, none of them blew me away. Usually there's a hell of a lot of spice, and to be honest, it often comes across that the author not only has very little knowledge on the sports themselves, but also very little interest in them. Now, I get that people aren't picking up these sort of books to read about the sport, but I don't know, I just expect a little more, and I think that Deep End did deliver with that. There was clearly some knowledge or research on the diving and swimming aspect, and it was present in a way that you would expect. I mean, these people's lives revolve around their sport, but at the same time, it didn't feel like too much. It didn't get boring. It just aided the story and was a part of it instead of becoming this forgotten theme. There was plenty of spice and drama, and overall, I think she just did a really good job of writing it. Ali Hazelwood is clearly very intelligent and likes to include her knowledge and research on science and the sports themselves in a way that adds depth to the characters, but doesn't take away from the fact that it's still a really easy reading experience. Although I did have some minor discrepancies with the book, I still rate it 5 stars. I mean, now that my feelings have had time to marinate and mature, I might drop that down by half a star, but let's be honest, by this point we all know that I rate books based off of my vibes with it at the time. Scarlett is a junior at Stanford and a student athlete who specialises in platform diving. She prefers to keep her head down, focusing on getting into med school and recovering from an injury that almost ended her career. She has no time for relationships. At least, that's what she tells herself. Swim captain, world champion, and all-around aquatics golden boy, Lucas thrives on discipline. It's how he wins gold medals and breaks records. On the surface, Lucas and Scarlett have nothing in common, until a well-guarded secret slips out and everything changes. So they start an arrangement, and as pressure leading up to the Olympics heats up, so does their relationship. It was supposed to just be a temporary, mutually satisfying fling, but when staying away from Lucas seems impossible, Scarlett realises that her heart might be treading in dangerous waters. I think if I had to compare this to any other book, it would probably have to be something like Icebreaker, although I do think that Deep End was way better. It had a much better balance between the romance, the sports themselves, and the drama. I think in some ways it was quite realistic and maybe even relatable. The chapter lengths were amazing, usually being under that 10-page mark, and I know that I always go on about chapter lengths and you might not care, but personally I love a short chapter. Like, it almost gives you a little sense of achievement, like, oh look, I've finished another chapter, whereas even if I'm enjoying a book, if the chapter lengths are too long, it can really impact just how much I'm enjoying it. Like, I can't be the only one. I think this is the second book by Ali Hazelwood that I've ever read, the first one being Bride, which I also really enjoyed, and I do have some of her others, which I do intend to get around to at some point. Like, I really like her writing style, and so far it's 100% win ratio, but I tend to steer away from books with a strong theme, which is definitely something that Ali Hazelwood does. Like, I think one of her others is focused on science, or this science student romance, which who knows, I might really enjoy, but I don't tend to gravitate towards them. Overall, I really enjoyed the book. I think that it had a decent amount of spice that was quite well written and really likeable characters. The book probably could have been a little shorter. I'd say that it was like a consistent medium pace, but I wouldn't say that it felt like it dragged at any point or that there were any unnecessary parts. So, as for the question, would I recommend the book? Absolutely, it's an easy to read, spicy romance with a strong sports theme. I think that if you were kind of about Icebreaker, then you might enjoy this one more. And will I be reading any more by Ali Hazelwood? I mean, I think I have like 3 of her other books on my shelf that I've been saying for a while now I will read. And I'm going to try and make a big dent with my physical TBR this year, so it will be a goal to try and read at least one of her other books by the end of the year. And as I said, I have really enjoyed the 2 I've read by Ali Hazelwood, so I am really intrigued as to what else she has to offer. So earlier on in the video, I said that you would get plenty of warning for any spoilers, and this is that moment, so if you haven't read this book yet, I would suggest going doing that first, because beyond this point, there'll definitely be spoilers. Okay, so probably my number 1 issue with this book is that very early on, and the main reason for these 2 characters to strike up a relationship is that they both have very similar tastes or kinks, but what the hell happened to that? Like, where did it go? Because even though there was a fair amount of spice in this book, there really wasn't any of that. I feel like it was almost overpromised, and then the author kind of played it safe. Although this is why it didn't necessarily impact my rating. Lucas has been in the same relationship with the same person since he was quite young, a person who wasn't interested in exploring that world or those kinks. Scarlett equally didn't really have any experience. I mean, maybe a little bit with her ex, but he also wasn't really interested and even went as far as to shame her about it, telling her that perhaps she should talk to her therapist. I mean, the guy was an arsehole and not in the way that she enjoys. Anyway, these 2 main characters knew that they were interested in this world, and maybe I'm wrong, but I'm assuming that if you're into this sort of thing, you don't run before you learn how to walk, if you know what I mean. Like, you probably don't start off with the more extreme fantasies. So, while they were together for a while in the book, I think it made it pretty clear that because of their studies and their careers, they didn't actually get to spend a whole bunch of time with one another. So while I feel like there wasn't tons of it in this book, I also think that it kind of made sense for these characters. Talking about the characters, I really liked the main 2. I loved Lucas. I thought that he was a love interest that really had his head screwed on, he knew what he wanted, he was patient, and he wasn't interested in the drama. While Scarlett was a bit of a mess, she had a lot of character growth, and I really liked their dynamic. I'm also really glad that Penn didn't turn out to be a total arsehole. Like, while the other divers were talking about her and saying how much of a backstabber she was, I got a little bit suspicious, and even after she explained what had happened, I was still kind of skeptical because she could have been lying. And then when she flipped out, a small part of me was kind of like, oh, there she is. But then I think she owned up to it and took responsibility. Like, she has some reason to be a little bit upset, but not like that. I mean, she broke up with Lucas, and they were clearly having problems for a long time before that. Plus, she was happily dating around. Like, she pushed them together, and I think that if she didn't expect at least some potential for romance to grow between them, then that was super naive of her. Anyway, I'm just glad that she owned up to it in the end, and she wasn't actually a raving bitch. But let me know what you thought. Did you enjoy the book? Next week there'll be no video, however we'll be picking up the following week with the Inheritance games, so don't forget to get your thoughts and comments in to be a part of the discussion. You can now do this on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram or Discord. The week after that we'll be discussing Love at First Night, but don't forget if you do need a little bit longer to read a book, we do now list the next 4 books down below along with the discussion dates. That way you can choose the genre that best suits you, and the best time frame to read it in. Thank you all for joining, and if you liked this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe, it's always appreciated, and I will see you in the next video. Bye! If you like romance, fantasy, or even thriller, basically anything fiction book related, then I suggest you head on over to the channel's intro video, where you can find out more information on how you can take part in this online book club. We announce books at least 4 weeks in advance, and we accept your bookish feedback in a wide manner of ways. Post your comment below a video, send in a voice note, or even send me a short video clip of you discussing the book. Alternatively, you can just send me a direct message.